Bam! MC is in the house. What's up, folks? My name is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and welcome to the Warrior Stream. I'm here every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, taking a topic, deep diving, and having a good time while doing it. While you guys are logging on, do me a favor, get the housekeeping out of the way. You can go to the description, whether you're watching on one of the Facebook pages, on YouTube, on X, and go check out all the relevant links, all the algorithms, and all that good stuff. As you guys are watching, do me a favor and just hit me with a shout here. So far, I got my man Jesse. What's going on, Jesse? Good to see you. Usually the first 30 seconds or so, 60 seconds, we have people getting notified of the stream. And I'm always trying to time my introduction in a way that makes sense with the people jumping on. Corey, what's up, brother man? Cassettis, what's up, brother man? Good to see you. We've got I think, a pretty interesting topic, good topic, always biased as I am concerning my topics. Aaron, what's up, darling? Good to see you up in Canada. Today we're going to collectively hurt some feelings, but that's not the intention. My intention is not to sort of be one of these contrarian, I'm cooler than everybody else. Everybody's an asshole. Everybody might be an asshole, but that's not exact. It's not my intention to illustrate that during my talks. Big Jack, what's up, brother man? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a bit. Hope the family's doing well. But today we're going to talk about not allowing ourselves to slow down for the people around us. And there's a bunch of different implications when you make that observation. And I want to cover some of those implications today. One of my struggles, admittedly as an adult, has been trying to stay connected to, in a meaningful way, those people who I found had inferior approaches to their lives when compared to the approach that I feel that I have for mine. Now, please don't confuse that with me saying that I'm superior, they're inferior. I don't think there's a lot of utility in making that observation, because if we just talk about the essence of an individual, there's really nothing to do after we make those comparisons. So what I would rather much focus on are the approaches of the individuals, the movements of the individuals. What is it that they're doing to improve their life? What is it that I'm doing to improve my life? And how are these approaches compatible? Are we helping each other? Through the TRIBALNOMICS lens, we say that an alliance is nothing if not a mutually beneficial investment of resources by both parties. Each individual member of an alliance, a functional alliance, I'll add that little caveat, a functional alliance is getting a return on the investment. That is really the motivation, the purpose even, for the alliance in the first place. We say that as people we're social creatures, and people want to leave it at that when talking about the drive towards making alliances. Oh, we're social, we need to be around people. Well, why do we need to be around people? What is it that being around people provides for us that not being around people does not? And when we start to look at that, and this is some of the work that I've done with TRIBALNOMICS, I really get down to, well, it kind of makes sense if we're trying to thrive as an individual to benefit from the alliances and the surpluses those alliances provide, than if we were to just relegate ourselves to being alone. Through a more existential lens, we could say that, well, if everybody just stayed by themselves and nobody connected functionally, literally in this example I'm about to make, we wouldn't have a species. 1-2 generations and we're done. So even from a natural standpoint, it makes sense that we need to have formulas that allow us to connect to people, because that is sort of how we propagate the species itself. So then it begs the question, if we're existentially connected to this idea of forming alliances, what is the criteria that we are setting as an individual to make it the best alliance formula possible? If we're going to be around people, how do we make sure we're around the best people? Or how do we make sure we're around the people that give us the best outcomes? This is the gist of what I want to cover today. If I define a loser, it's somebody who, if nothing else, chooses to not try to win the game he has committed to playing. If you are playing the game, you should be trying to win. Now, obviously, those are a lot of variables that the individual would need to fill out. There are some people who their entire purpose in life, today is to be popular on the internet, to be popular on social media, likes, shares, etc. There are some people whose life goal, purpose, is to prepare their children to be the best adults they could possibly be, seeing themselves as sort of a conduit of preparation and empowerment for this next generation of their tribe. Everybody could sort of infuse their own preference when it comes to what it is your purpose happens to be. I don't have arguments over which is better, vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream, and because so much of it is preference based. So I don't ever want to sort of influence the direction of people's preferences with any intent. Do what you want. But again, that doesn't mean that you need to adopt an approach to the pursuit of that preference that I would say is that of a loser. Losing formulas are wielded by losers. It doesn't matter what game you're playing, but you should be trying to win it. If you are not trying to win the game you are playing, it begs the question, why are you playing it at all in the first place? If I look at the individuals that I have observed over my almost 50 years on the planet, there's a whole broad spectrum of people. And, let me preempt this whole thing by saying I am nowhere at the top of any ladder myself. Anything that I talk about, it comes directly from challenges and obstacles that I have faced. In many cases, I have managed to overcome these obstacles. In some, probably more than people would realize, I am still in the middle of negotiating these obstacles. So I don't put myself forth as any sort of perfect, pure master of everything and all things, life and power, etc. But I am somebody who cannot help but to point out what he is seeing. It's very hard for me as an individual to see a man who is saying one thing, doing another, and not have some sort of commentary to share. Admittedly, in my experience, a lot of that commentary is not always welcomed, but I don't necessarily wait for invitations. Being that is my personality, it's been a burden for me to design the life and the ecosystem in my life that allows me to be me. Because if I had to fight every day at a certain level of intensity just to be myself, I couldn't see my life as being enjoyable. I couldn't even see my life as being worthwhile in terms of the outputs that I'm generating. No, so what was the alternative? I've designed a life where the people around me know that I'm going to be me. That allows me to be me to the highest level I know how, while also generating that surplus that the alliances around me produce. If I wanted to be me in an ecosystem that did not accept who I was, then what I would be doing is fighting every day to maintain the integrity of my identity, but I wouldn't be able to then take who I am and invest it into alliances to produce that surplus. So over the years, that's what I've done. I've, run a martial arts school for over 20 years. The overwhelming majority of students that have come through the doors of my school have been people who were distracted by the allure of martial arts, the allure of competition, the allure of winning the game on the mat. What have they been distracted from? They've been distracted from asking themselves, how is it that I'm going to become the best version of me? You guys know that one of my favorite pastimes is I like watching those uh, audition shows, those talent shows, right? Like America's Got Talent, American Idol. Like I don't watch them all the time, but what I like are the clips of those instances where somebody was unassuming, nobody expected anything, and the person showed up and performed. Meaning, not only were they talented, and no superficial indication that they were putting out there indicated that they were talented, but then they actually showed up and just crushed the audition, usually winning over the audience and the judges in the process. One of the things that I enjoy doing when watching those scenarios is I ask myself, when I look at this individual who is doing this thing at the level that I am observing them do it, what is it in my life that I do at that level? Is there anything I do at that level? And I think it's an interesting exercise for somebody to sort of put themselves through. Look at all of the people who you admire for their great level of skill in a given discipline, and then ask yourself, what is it that you do as well as that? I got news for you. I'm not the person that's going to sit here and hug you and tell you you're special and tell you, every life is worth something and every life is valuable in its own individual way. Well, no, I will say every life has the opportunities to climb their individual ladder, and you get the outcomes and the benefits of having climbed that ladder, or being somebody who dedicates their life to climbing their individual ladder of power. But some people choose not to do that. Those people are who I wanted to talk about today. How we treat those people is what I wanted to discuss today. On the title card, the thumbnail for today's video, I have a man climbing the side of a mountain, and it says climb. And that is the advice that I want to share. And I say advice, not like I'm the great, expert on all things progress and your individual life. Like, I don't know your life more than you do. It's not this sort of, I'm going to hold you accountable by what I say sort of thing. It's really, I'm going to make an argument, and you could do whatever the fuck you want. This sort of like this, it kind of, relates to what I'm saying. Like, if you're somebody who I share this with, and you don't have a stronger position or a stronger philosophy, and you still decide to opt for what is comfortable, like, good luck with that. So let's break this down a little bit. So the name of today's, theme is Don't Wait for Them. So the language, and I try to choose the language with some specificity when I'm designing these titles. Don't wait for them. Number one is them. So I'm talking about a category of people. I'm not talking about an individual. I'm talking about a category, a type. I think up until now, I've described with some, direct language exactly what or who they are. The losers. The people who want to talk about it, but they don't want to be about it. They don't want to do anything, but they want to share the plans for all the things they're going to do. We live in an aquarium. You guys have heard me say this before, and I look at the aquarium and I look at an artificial game that we are all playing. And what goes hand in hand with this artificial game that we are playing is an unnatural pace of progress. When you look at some of the technological advances that have happened in society, those things can happen if you're, if all those scientists and researchers who are responsible for those advancements had to go and hunt and gather food every day, had to fight the tribe next door on a regular basis to protect their resources. Like some of the things that these aquariums do is create the benefits in the form of an insulation, right? A buffer from these natural existential threats that people have evolved, negotiating since the beginning of man. So there is a bright side to these aquariums, but we have to ask ourselves constantly, what's the cost? The cost is we lose sight of what a reality without the aquarium looks like, right? A domesticated animal cannot exist while from captivity. It cannot exist in its natural wild environment because it's lost the ability to fend for itself. It lost the ability to play the game that the natural environment represents. It became a specialist, in other words, in trying to navigate, and we could even say win the game of the aquarium. And I think with individuals today, we see a fast changing aquarium. Think about, it's just 20, 30 years ago, people didn't have cell phones. Those of you, I'm 49 years old. Those of you that are in your 30s, 40s, you remember a time where we didn't have cell phones. There was no, I'm going to call whoever I want on the planet at any point in time that I choose to do so, right? The world got smaller. Everything got more convenient, making it so easy to connect with people, making it so easy to connect with so many people has dulled our senses when it's come to how we're supposed to approach building strong alliances, right? If we say supply and demand determines the value of a thing on the open market, well, what is the value to the individual of a singular friendship when the aquarium is doing nothing but trying to convince us that we could have as many friends as we want? I look at my my Facebook page, the Master Chimp Facebook page, and I think there's like 40,000 fans. I don't know 40,000 people. If somebody on my friends list, I don't even know the lingo, but of the 40,000 people who follow my Master Chimp page, let's say one of them gets run over by a car today. I'm not going to care. The reason I'm not going to care is, how the fuck am I even going to hear about it? Think about the work I would have to do in order to get to the point where I cared that this person got run over by a car. Do I wish that people get run over by cars? Of course not. But all I could really share if I find out one of the followers on my page got run over by a car is my general statement on, do I want people to get run over by cars? But I couldn't offer anything more intimate than that, anything more personal than that. Oh, this guy, yeah, he was a good guy. I mean, the best I could say is he had good taste in Facebook pages. But beyond that, what is the value, the absolute value of these connections? We have to ask ourselves that. Over a year ago, I did an email sequence, a series on why we should get off of social media. And the gist of it, spoiler alert, was you should be off of social media with the exception of two reasons. Number one is business. You do business on social media. I do business on social media or through social media. Social media provides a platform that allows me to connect with people that eventually, take part in my coaching, my projects, and things that I do. But the second reason was to connect socially with people that you know in the real world. And I added the caveat that in that case, when you're connecting with people that you know in the real world through a social media platform, you should do everything in your power to sort of make it a sort of private experience. But as soon as we get to the point where now we could, be as popular as we can, you look at some of these influencers, they call them. These people have millions of fans, millions of followers. You realize that if you follow an influencer, then you are being influenced by this influencer. And probably in ways that you're not even consciously aware of. So again, it begs the question, who is it that is valuable in today's society? And what is the criteria that you've set to determine where an individual falls on that spectrum? And being separated for a moment from our actual everyday life and just thinking conceptually for a moment, would we not want to surround ourselves with people that after interacting with them, we wound up growing as individuals? We wind up becoming more? Or do we want to surround ourselves with a bunch of people that do nothing but maintain the status quo? Their life's mission is to regress to the mean, constantly updating where the mean happens to be, lest they become too successful, because that's where the pressure happens. And we wind up accumulating these people. Is that the sort of goal that you guys have for yourselves? Like some fucking cat lady that spends her entire life feeding all of these cats that would just as soon eat her body should she have a heart attack on the kitchen floor without any regard for anything she's done for them before that. Like, these are the questions that I'm posing. And I guess I'm not asking them to you, but I'm challenging you to ask these things of yourself. The reason that you stay connected to a loser, there's probably two main reasons. And I'll start explaining. And if I come up with three, I'll mention the third one too. But two, that as I see it right now. Number one, you're a loser too. Right? You're a loser too. You don't want any pressure. You don't want to climb the ladder. You'd rather complain than improve, right? You'd rather whine about circumstances than to do anything to actually change them. So number one, you're a loser too. Number two, the second reason why you hang around losers, why you stay connected to losers, is you haven't yet developed your purpose to the point where you see a contrast between who you claim to want to become and who you are surrounded by in the moment. You have no idea what that looks like. If you don't know where you're supposed to be, if you don't know how to get there, how do you know you're lost? So part of understanding, or part of getting to the point where we could even make the distinction of who we're supposed to be surrounded by, is doing the work necessary to understand exactly where we're supposed to be moving toward. I have goals in my life that have evolved, as expected, I would say. I remember there was a time where I would invest a lot of time in my fighters, right? So I have fighters that fight for my school over the years. And it's something that I used to want to be a fighter, a trainer of fighters, an MMA coach. I wanted an MMA team. I did that. After a while, it wound up being I wanted to help individuals. And if I don't have the individuals that motivate me to want to train them, it's something I'm very easily willing to put on the shelf until somebody comes along that I would want to invest that time in. Because the way that I look at it now, like in my particular case, I have a wife and 4 children. Why should I be spending 1 minute of time with anybody instead of my wife and children? So at a minimum, if I'm investing time doing something other than spending time with my wife and children, I need to understand exactly why the return on the investment of that time transcends the return I would have gotten had I spent that time with my children. Can't be with my wife and children all day long. I gotta make the bacon, right? I gotta fill the fridge. I have to provide. So I do have to go out and do these things, but it is always the context of the big picture by which I make these decisions from day to day. Now think about the people that are in your life that deserve your investment of time. It could be your wife, your children. It could be the employees of your business. It could, whatever the case is, before I go down a list. But let's just say now compare those people who the nature of their alliance with you is one that is a perennial supplier of surplus, right? i.e., it's a good investment. These people are good investments. How are you supposed to spend some of that time with people who do nothing but take instead of those good investments that you're surrounded by? If you're an individual who has done nothing to self-reflect and ask himself, where should I be moving toward? What is it about me that is still deficient and therefore vulnerable? What is it that I need to do? Maybe you don't even know how to add value to your life in a proactive, positive sense. So look at it from the opposite end, just to get the movement going. And ask yourself, well, what deficiencies do I have that I want to eliminate? Because that'll begin the process of actually auditing what you represent. If you were a character in a video game, what is your origin story? What are your attribute numbers, right? From 0 to 100. Where are your numbers and all the attributes that you could determine are relevant? These are the things that we have to ask ourselves. But understand that this is a far cry from the pursuit of distraction and entertainment that most people has sort of convinced themselves is a worthwhile life. You know, it's hard when I look at people who I know are going to fail in every way that they have said that they want to succeed. But the paradox that exists from my position as a coach oftentimes is, here's somebody who needs to hear something that he's not strong enough to hear. And that paradox, it's a hurdle, you know, sometimes from my position. MC, I need help. Okay, I want to help you. This is what I think you should do. I can't believe you told me that. How could you say that? And it's this paradox that people prepare themselves to be trapped by. You want to make all of this progress, but you haven't done anything to make you strong enough to endure it. It's like saying you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but you showed up with sneakers and a basketball outfit. It's like you have to ask yourself, well, do you really want to climb the mountain if you showed up with the basketball outfit and sneakers on? And that's the paradox that I think traps people. So what's my advice now? What would I say is a plan of action given all the topics that I was talking about? Become strong enough to walk away from losers. How do I know I'm strong enough? Well, you could identify a loser in your life. You can walk away from them. Now, mind you, it doesn't mean no longer fulfill obligations. It certainly doesn't mean you no longer are obligated to fulfill the oaths that you've made. It's just how much more are you going to invest? If I've made a promise to somebody, I'm going to keep that promise, not because of the individual, but because I keep promises, right? So it's an internal thing. It's an honor thing. So honor your obligations by all means. But when it comes to continuing and further investing in these alliances with people who you, by your own criteria, maybe I've informed it a little bit, but whatever your criteria for determining a loser is, as soon as somebody is labeled a loser, let them be. You're not supposed to save everybody. But modern society has convinced so many that looking to save everybody is somehow a noble pursuit. It's idiocy. When you look at the people, and this isn't going to make me any more popular. When you look at people who are looking to feed the hungry, and they show up with food, and like the Thanksgiving, they go and they serve the meals to the homeless people, and like, I cannot convey to you how fucking disgusted I am with that ritual. Because you're not helping. You're not helping. What are you doing? You're making yourself feel better. You're giving somebody, like, listen, if somebody's about to die, if they don't eat today and you're giving food, yeah, you prolong their life until the time they need food next, I guess. But if you look at the systems that drive these outcomes, you want to help, it has to be systemic. One of the things I tell my coaching students in their businesses is that if you want to help your clients, you have to help them systemically. You have to create a better system that serves them. Because if you customize this experience to a point that transcends the system's ability to do the same for every client, then you are becoming fraudulent in your offers. Meaning, if you're going to feed the homeless people, feed every one of them. Because think about what is the determination that allows you to feed one over the other. I'm going to bring 10 meals down to the homeless area and give 10 homeless people, food. Well, what a fucking terrible plan. What if there's 11 people there? Who's the one guy that doesn't get the food? And it's again, this is not meant to really spotlight one particular application of this idea. It is the idea of losers look to do things at such a low level that you understand the incentivization, the benefit is how they feel after doing it. They don't actually enact change. They don't actually create change systemically. Got to be careful using those words today, but I think everybody gets how I'm meaning them. You want to feed the homeless, fix society. There's a great line in, was it Carl Sagan in Cosmos? If you look to bake an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. And when we're looking at, how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, given that, we're not going to hang on to losers and the alliances they have. Also, please don't misunderstand me and say that you're supposed to be an asshole to people. You're supposed to be mean to people. No, listen, manners and courtesy are the poetry of society, right? Be poetic in how you move from day to day. Give people good interactions, but just don't invest in bad investments. All right, let's get to some comments here. Corey says, give us the thought, we can handle it. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. You're on Sax. So what's up, Don? What's up, Johnny Groove? Aaron says, random question. Have you taken a couple of days off of emails? Oh, man, if I could just tell you the challenges I've had figuring out what's going on with emails lately. Apparently, some of the internet service providers, Google, Yahoo, etc., have changed how they measure the spam rating, I guess, of emails. And a lot of my emails, including in my own inbox, have gone to the spam box. What I could tell everybody watching is I write an email every day and I haven't missed one. And I don't even know. It's probably been a couple of years at this point. So I definitely wrote the email. It's probably in your spam folder. And if it's not in your spam folder, you may need to resubscribe. Because what I wound up doing was cutting over half of my email list because of just the lack of deliverability I had. And admittedly, this gets way beyond my level of understanding. I've gotten more education in the last 2 weeks on email deliverability than I have the last 10 years of writing emails every day. But I would definitely say for those of you guys that are looking for my emails, definitely check your spam box. And if you're not getting it, like I said, you can go to masterchim.com and resubscribe. Perfect. My man Frank the Killer. What's up, Frank? He says, check your spam. Yahoo recently decided to ignore my filter and send one of his emails to my spam. And I don't even know how the hell that happened, but you're absolutely right. So right now, it's also saying check if, somebody triggered one of my chat bots. So you're gonna get a message for a free thing. I don't know who triggered it, but somebody did. Corey says, those who want to pick up rifles and fight tyranny but won't even talk to the people in their community. And it is such a profound insight to make, Corey, because here is the thing. You have the people that want to rail on about all the things they hate, right? During COVID. Oh, you got to take the vaccine. You got to fucking, was it 9 feet, 8 feet, 6 feet, whatever the fucking government's telling you, the distance that you need to stay away from other people, where you don't get the cooties. Like, you have to do all those different things. Yet the information that we knew at the time was that if you're a fat fuck, you're more likely to get sick. And all these people that were railing on were also fat, miserable fucks on top of it. It's just the inconsistency that as soon as that inconsistency is brought to the forefront of one's awareness, it transitions into hypocrisy. So, and I've said this before over the years, when I start working with somebody in coaching, the first thing that we do is we take inventory of their life. We audit what it is that's going on, and then we start to compare it to what he claims to be trying to generate. This is the life I'm trying to make. This is the life that I have. And I look at the delta between the two of them. And in that, sometimes we discover inconsistencies, but a lot of times we sort of unearth a few hypocrisies along with it. And that's where the work begins. How do we start framing these things properly and populating our days with the rituals so that we're looking to eliminate these hypocrisies? Because that's the thing. Once you know, now you got to do something about it, right? So that's the struggle that so many people have and don't wind up in a better position once they've engaged it. Aaron says, so there it is. Yep, right in the spam folder. It used to say from Justin Garcia. Now it's written as from MC. So I'm actually going to change that. What I did was, just to give you guys some updates, I was using a service that originally was called Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft turned a couple years ago into Keep, Keap. Keep was just too much. Like it was overkill. And all of the options and capabilities of the platform I was not using. So what I decided to do was switch over to an email service provider called Berserker Mail. And it was founded by two guys who are email marketers, and one of which, this guy Ben Settle, was a guy that probably influenced my email style more than anybody. And he and this other guy had this platform for email marketers. So I was like, you know what? I'll do it there. And I wound up switching over. So some of those things, like, who's being signed off by and stuff, like, we will be fixing it as we go. But basically what I'm doing now is I'm sort of making it a little bit of a hoop to jump through for new subscribers to join, because of how many spam bots were finding its way on the list and compromising my ability to deliver the emails to people's inboxes and not their spam boxes. I hope that made sense. And I almost understand everything I just said too. Almost, right? But yeah, so if you guys, like I said, if you're not getting my emails and you're supposed to, check your spam box. But you could even have, and I think Frank shared this before, you could have it whitelisted, like put the email that I'm sending it from as one of your contacts, and basically show your email platform that, yeah, this is a friend of mine, or this is whatever it is, and they'll still put it in the spam box if by that rating system they have, it says that that's where it belongs. So if you're not getting it, check your spam, mark it as not spam. That'll help significantly. And if you're still not getting it, just do me a favor and resubscribe. But I don't know, those of you that have been reading the emails lately, I'm on the new platform now, so even visually they might look a little different, because I have more capabilities. And another thing that this new platform doesn't allow are images, and that's a little counterintuitive. It's like, well, images, emails should have images, but when you look at how the email platforms themselves rate images on incoming emails, there is more of a tendency for them to question the value and the spam rating of what an image is, right? So not having an image just makes it a safer email by the filters that, that are receiving the emails, so I hope that fucking makes sense. But basically, check your spam filter, mark it as not spam, or resubscribe. All right, guys, I think we'll call it there. We did some good stuff. I'll be sharing some of this content. One of the things I'm starting to do now is Frank says, we shall persevere through the spam war. Yes. That's right. That's right. We will take every hill. All right. So I started recording these also on my little DJI camera because I noticed when I'm making these clips and content clips, repurposing this stuff, sometimes the resolution isn't that great. So I'm experimenting with something else. In other words, I'm always trying to evolve. Right? I am always trying to evolve. I'm good at a lot of stuff, but I'm not good at enough stuff, right? So the saga continues. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Today was a good talk. I had a good time doing it. Glad you guys are here. I'm also glad you guys brought up the email thing because that was something I wanted to bring up. And of course, would have completely forgotten had you guys not brought it up. So I appreciate that. But I'll be here next week as always. And as always, brothers and sisters, pressure to power.